I've got one that can see.
Logic before authority.
Hi guys, this is Daniel Alexander Cannon here on Logic Before Authority, and I've got some absolutely amazing news. I mean, literally, oh boy, it's so exciting. My theory, my nut crazy, bat poo poo crazy theory about the mountains, ancient giant trees, volcanoes, oil and coal and all this stuff all being tied, and the waterfalls that come out of top of mountains. I feel vindicated. Thank you, Father in heaven, for he leads me down no paths that are dead ends. And then I get to share it with the world, with anyone who is actually seeking truth. Got good news for you today. Well, I got lucky. Well, you can call it luck, but I sit and meditate and think and sometimes just listen. And I know that you've got to know the right question to ask in order to find something amazing. And so I was thinking about, who would maybe have history that hasn't been altered or maybe still exists about some mountains that look like tree stumps around the world, that there may be something still there more than just what you see with your eye that looks like, a giant tree. Like, let's look at this one, I think. Yeah, this one. But first, let me mention to you, those of you that remember Way Down in the Valley. Oh, remember that? The song I wrote in 1990, 91, right in there. In basic training, it was a marching cadence. Well, I finished the song, and I have a version that's almost ready that I'm going to let y'all guys hear very soon. So there's that. And it ain't it's a marching song still, kind of in a way, but it's been righteousified, you might say. All right. Now, I'm not going to pretend that I know how to pronounce all these words exactly, okay? But what I came up with is the idea that just like the Hopi Indians, they have what they call oral history, or oral history, or written language these days, even, because it gets written down from the elders and stuff. But there's these histories that are passed along from, it's a tradition to pass along the history of the past, the way distant past even, through the generations and families coming forward. The Hopis did that. Well, there are many other indigenous people and tribes around the world that did the same thing. And I happened to run across, digging into it a little bit, I happened to run across a documentary called Islands in the Sky. Okay. And it was about a group of things like this. Like, this is an image of Roraima, Roraima, and I know I'm pronouncing that wrong, but let's just say Roraima, okay? And it's in Venezuela. And there's a group of them down there, and they call them, let's see, what is the name? Tepui. The Tepui Mountains, okay? Tepui Mountains. The Tepui Mountains. And this one here particularly, it has the tallest, the highest, okay, waterfall right off of the tip top of it in the world. And it also has like the number 2 and number 3 highest waterfalls off of the top of it in the world. It has multiple waterfalls coming off the top, and there's no lake on the top. Just the waterfalls themselves are like over 3,000 feet high. Okay. And well, let's just read you some stuff here. Okay. They call it the Piman legend, the Piman people. Okay. Right here. Let me see if I can zoom it up just a little bit more. Piman, or some, and again, sorry for pronunciations. Legend from Grand Sabana, okay, which is the area that this is in. They have this written oral history that there were these giant trees, and there came a time when some supernatural beings that were giants came along and cut the trees down. Okay. These trees reached way into the heavens. They would cover areas that, like the canopy of the tree, would cover hundreds of miles. And the base of the trees were just absolutely massive. Like, just massive, okay? And I'm going to have, this is not a final product of showing you about this. This is letting you know along the way of all my research of what I am doing for the documentary that I am creating called The Secrets of the Trees, okay? And there's, as we make these finds like this, we're going to then know and figure out the right questions to ask to find even more amazing history and truth. Okay. But in this case, I'll read this to you. This is what they had written down. Long ago, there was a giant sacred tree called Waiaka. It was the tree of life. Its fruits fed the people and the animals. All life came from the tree. Number 2, the falling of Waiaka. Makana Ami and his brothers became jealous and cut down the tree. As the great tree fell, the earth shook and the sky darkened and a disaster came. The great flood. When Waiaka fell, a great flood came, and the waters covered the land, washing away many things. Only the highest places remained above the waters. The stump became Ima. So the last 3 letters of the name of it. The stump of the great tree, Waiaka, remained. It turned to stone and became Ima, which we know as Mount Roraima. Okay? Birth of rivers and life. From the stump of Waiaka, great quantities of water flowed out. These waters became rivers, falls, streams that give life to the land and to all living things to this day. It's considered to be a sacred place. Ima, or Roraima, is a sacred place. It is the home of the spirits and ancestors. The Piman people respect and protect it, for it is the heart of life and the center of Grand Sabana. And this tree stump that remains there, which there are many, but this is one of the most well-known ones, has the highest waterfall, as I said, multiple of the highest waterfalls in the world that pour right off the top. So the tree, even to this day, is still flowing waters, living waters from below. To this day. And this is the story of those people. Now, if this was just one story, one mountain, one tree, one people, one oral history of this, then okay, well, maybe it's a coincidence, or maybe it was just a story of a children's made up something, right? Like Santa Claus. But it's not. If you go a few hundred miles away, you find another story. And you can go across the continents into other cultures. And I found the similar story being written in different languages, told by different peoples, that ultimately giants at a point started cutting down the ancient trees. And when they did it, after that, a great flood came. You see, when the trees that were as large as these, they went up into the heavens and spread out, and they affected and controlled what we call normal weather patterns today. And it didn't really rain in those days, like before Noah. It didn't rain. It was like a heavy mist, and everything had enough water that everything was fine. But when they cut down these trees, it opened the gateways opened from below, and the water poured out through the trees while they were still pumping. And it is said that water fell from the sky for the first time, and it created and caused a great flood. So this is the second tree, Waiaka Piapi, okay, or Waiaka Piapi, something like that. And these names actually mean, like Waiaka Piapi, it translates to the failed tree, or the tree that was cut down, is the literal translation. So the name of the mountain is the failed tree, or the tree that was cut down. You understand how important that is? How amazing of a find this is? Long ago, there was a great sacred tree known as Waiaka, or Waiaka, the tree of life and the tree of fruits, and its fruits gave food and life and blessings to all peoples and animals of the land. Sorry, guys. Waiaka was an enormous tree that reached toward the sky. It bore countless fruits and provided food and life for all creatures. The tree is failed then. Makoanama, the cultural hero, and his brothers, or the culture hero, meaning the mighty man, and his brothers, driven by jealousy or the will to change the world, cut down the giant tree. Once again, this is a different mountain, a different tree, separated by hundreds of miles. Then it said that when the mighty tree fell, a tremendous crash shook the earth, Water burst forth from the broken trunk and roots, and rain poured from the sky. Great flood covered the land, washing away things. From the trunk came the waters. Water gushed from the heart of the fallen tree. Rivers were born, and the waters spread across the land, shaping the valleys, filling the low places, and giving life to the earth. Yet life and destruction. I mean, when you're looking at some of these mountains with the waterfalls coming off the top, we're literally getting to see the waning process of the Great Flood, is what it seems like to me. When the waters settled, the part of the tree that remained, the great stump, stood firm. It could not rot, could not be moved, for it had become stone. The remaining stump became Waiaka Piapi, a stone mountain to this day, a great reminder of the great tree, the flood, and the sacred power that shaped the land. Waiaka Piapi stands as one of the many sacred places of the Guyana Highlands. This is actually in Guyana. It's a separate country from this other tree here. Okay? This one was in Venezuela. This tree is in a border country. Okay? So you can see a little map up right here of it, as a matter of fact. Let me zoom it in and go over here. You see? You got Venezuela over here. And you got Guyana right here and Brazil over here. And these trees are spaced hundreds of miles apart across these three countries right here. Waiaka Piapi is closely connected to the story of Waiaka or Waiaka and the other sacred places such as Mount Roraima, Kanayata Papa, the guava tree stump, and Pure Papa, the headless tree. Pure Papa means the headless tree. That's this one. And here we go with another mountain that's still named to this day the headless tree. Okay? That is just absolutely amazing. You see, understanding these truths, we may not understand where it will lead us or what benefit it will have to us in our lifetimes, but I can promise you it will. The truth does set you free. And these are truths that have been hidden. They've erased. No one ever told us that there were giant trees that covered the heavens before, hundreds of miles across, covering the heavens, and that it didn't rain, and that there was a heavy mist upon the land. No one ever told us these things. Yeah, we read about the Great Flood, but it's not taken as literal, and it's never was really explained exactly how it all went down. Now we're getting a oral history from a people that passed it through their time and memorial and through their generations of what actually happened. That there were giants in the land in those days, and they cut the trees down according to these stories. And not just from this region alone, but from other regions. said the great flood from the broken trunk burst forth rivers and an ocean of water. Rain poured from the sky. Waters rose and swept across the land, carrying trees, animals, and everything in their path. A great flood covered the earth. Even after the flood, waters continued to flow from the heart of the fallen tree. Streams rushed from every side of the stump, carving valleys and giving life to the land. The remaining stump becomes stone. As time passed, the great stump hardened. The wood turned to rock. It could no longer rot or move. It stood forever. The stump remains to this day as Pure Papa, the headless tree, a stone mountain in the Guiana highlands, a reminder of the great tree, the flood, and the power of ancient times. The land remembers. The mountains are their spirit. The waters are their breath. We walk gently, for we are living on the body of a giant tree. That's indigenous wisdom from the Guyana. I can't even hardly talk. I apologize, guys. Doing the best I can. It came from the people, the indigenous people that live there, okay? And I think that it is absolutely amazing. So then, of course, I widened my search to other places around the world. Are there other stories of this, like in Asia, in Europe, or Australia, or other places, even in America? Well, yes, there are. And they're some go right along the same exact storyline. Some are a little bit different. Okay. You can pause this and read any of these you want. Okay. There's stories that are even where this goes from, and where my next part of my research is leading, that I won't be getting into much today, is that some of these trees that turn to stone are said to have then woke up in anger and smoke and fire poured from the tree stumps. Volcanoes. They lied to us. And now I'm telling you the truth. For the first time ever in history, the truth about volcanoes is now out there. Volcanoes were ancient giant trees. And I've got enough proof already to know I'm absolutely correct. And my Father in heaven will lead me to even more proof. And I'll put it in my documentary that I will be doing as I finish the research. I need to prove my theory, right? So that way it's not necessarily a theory anymore. And we're getting it done. We're getting it done. Got Mount Meru, Eurasian World Tree, Australian Dreaming Landscapes. You've got the 6 sacred mountains, the Maya sacred mountains. You've got Devil's Tower, even has an Indian oral tradition that it was a tree stump. And at a time in the past, it had a waterfall that came off the side of it. But the waters dried up. That's Devil's Tower. And it was a Lakota and a Cheyenne story. Okay. Where there was a tree that was cut down and it turned to rock and had a waterfall coming off the top. Got The one in Indonesia is a very strong one tied to the tree that turned into a smoking, angry mountain with fire that ran out of it. And there's other ones. I've got so much research and work to do. It's a blessing, but it is a lot. It is a lot. And some people, I see it in the comments, and some people really don't want to hear about this. They want to hear about drama and the war and what's happening with this and that and the other. But I'm not going to stop. Yeah, I'll cover other things like I do, but I have to finish this. I have to do this work. And I don't even know why yet. I know I'll come to understand it. I think it does have something to do with this. Wherever I put it. Right here. I think we are in the garden, or at least the outskirts of the garden, the original garden. I'm not saying that God said this, okay, or I'm saying that's what it's looking like, that the Mercator map shows this, what appears to me, based on topography, that it's high and flat, and it's mountainous all the way around, and you have waters. Oh my God. What's different with this one is that the waters are pouring into the tree according to the information that's available from Mercator and the history written about this. The waters are running into the tree instead of out. Remember the tree we were just looking at that had the streams pouring over the edge and pouring out? In this case, the waters are pouring into the tree. I just realized that. Oh my God, we are looking at a tree. And we're looking at the tree in the midst of the Garden of Eden. And they lied. And it makes it hard for y'all guys to see it and believe it. But I think that's what we're looking at. But because of all the things that happened, the land was made inhospitable to us. It's like we're missing part of the story of what happened. Of course we are. But maybe we're going to be able to figure it out. Maybe that's what all of this is about, what I'm doing. Maybe we are going to figure out, and it's going to teach us something that's maybe the most valuable lesson of our entire existence as mankind. Maybe, just maybe. But this, to me, is a giant tree stump. And I think at one time the waters poured out. And now, because of whatever reason, and there's always a reason, the waters pour inward into the center in a whirlpool around black rock, magnetic rock. Rupus Negre, the black rock. Wow. Never thought in my life that I would be able to do this, to know these things. Let me know, guys, if y'all guys really appreciate this. You can do it just by making a comment, or maybe you can make a donation to help me keep myself off the bottom a little bit. If you would, I'd greatly appreciate it. The links are all below the video in the more section, the description section. But we're going to keep going. I think I have one more image here yeah. Let's go back over here. Okay, so this is Waiaka Piapi, Pure Papia, and then the map. Let's look at this one. This is another mountain in Guyana Highlands called the Unveiled Papia. The guava tree stump is what it translates to in English. It was a guava tree which produces a fruit, guava fruit. Imagine those fruits falling out the sky. Golly. When it was time for the fruit to fall out the tree, you probably wouldn't want to be under it. It'd be like bombs hitting. I'm going to share all these images with you. I've already shared quite a bit of these. And the story follows the same timeline or the same storyline. The flood, the tree trunk, the remaining stump to this day. Wow. How amazing. Isn't it, guys? Isn't this just awesome? What started out as a theory now is no longer just a theory. All right, guys, I reckon I'm going to let you go. I love you. Father in heaven loves you, and I'll be letting you hear way down in the valley here very soon. Maybe by the next video or something like that. Bye-bye for now.
I've got one that can see.
Logic before authority.